The harder you chase, the faster they run. The more you cling, the less they see your worth. Yet when you step back, when you stand calm and unshaken, suddenly your absence begins to echo louder than your presence ever did. Why is it that silence often leaves the deepest mark? Why does restraint, not pursuit, create longing? The Stoics knew this truth well. The person who does not depend on others is the one others cannot forget. If you've ever wondered how to be missed without playing games or begging for attention, the answer lies in timeless principles of self-mastery. People value most what they do not constantly have. This is the quiet power of absence. When you are always present, always available, your presence becomes ordinary. It fades into the background like noise in a crowded street. But when you withdraw with intention, when you create space, your presence gains weight. The Stoics understood that scarcity amplifies value, not because you are withholding as a trick, but because you are choosing not to waste yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote his thoughts in private journals, not endless speeches. He did not flood the world with his presence, yet his words are remembered centuries later. Their rarity gave them depth, and their depth gave them permanence. In relationships, the same principle applies. You do not need to be everywhere, explaining yourself, proving yourself, or forcing your importance. You need only to be deliberate, measured, and steady. Imagine a fire that never dims. After a while, you stop noticing its warmth because it has become constant. But if that fire goes out for a night, you feel the chill immediately. Absence sharpens awareness. It makes others notice what they once took for granted. To practice the Stoic principle of absence is not to vanish or ignore, but to be mindful of your presence, to speak only when it matters, to show up with intention, not compulsion. This is how you plant memory in the minds of others, not by crowding their space, but by leaving behind moments that cannot be forgotten once you step away. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many see it as coldness, as if stepping back means you no longer care. But Stoic detachment is not about bitterness. It is about freedom. It is the ability to hold love and connection without being enslaved by them. When you can walk away without resentment, you show a strength that lingers in the minds of others long after you are gone. Think about how people react when they sense desperation. Constant reaching, constant needing only makes them retreat. But when you stand steady, calm, and self-contained, you create space for them to feel the absence. Detachment makes you magnetic because it shows that your peace does not depend on their presence. You are with them because you choose to be, not because you have no other choice. Epictetus taught that freedom is not found in clinging to what can be lost, but in holding loosely, knowing that all things are borrowed from the world. When you live this way, you do not become bitter when someone pulls away. You remain whole. And wholeness is what others come to miss most. Picture a tree in a storm. The weaker trees bend, snap, and cry against the wind, but the strong one stands tall, unmoved. Detachment is that strength. People remember it. They think of you not as fragile or needy, but as steady ground they can rely on. That memory stays with them, and when you are not there, they feel the quiet weight of your presence more deeply than if you had never stepped away. Silence has a way of speaking louder than constant words. In a world where people rush to fill every gap, the one who does not hurry to explain, defend, or demand attention is remembered. Silence shows control, and control leaves an impression. The Stoics valued measured speech because they knew words lose their weight when they are scattered carelessly. By holding back, by choosing silence at times, you give your presence a gravity that lingers when you are gone. Think of the quiet person in a room. They may say little, but when they finally do, everyone listens. Their silence builds expectation. Their words carry more power because they are rare. Contrast that with the person who never stops talking. Their voice fades into noise, easily forgotten. When you choose silence, you are not withholding out of pride, but living with intention. You are saying, not every thought deserves to be spoken, not every reaction must be shown. Seneca once advised that we should let our lives, not our words, be our defense. Silence is not weakness, it is mastery of the self. And when you walk away without explanation, without the need to fill the air with justifications, the silence itself becomes unforgettable. People replay your absence, wondering what you are thinking, why you did not respond, what you chose not to reveal. This is how silence makes you missed, not by punishing, not by ignoring, but by showing that your presence does not depend on noise. It depends on depth. And depth is always noticed when it steps into the background, leaving echoes that words alone could never create. The person who is truly missed is the one who shows they can stand alone. This is the Stoic principle of self-sufficiency. When you depend on others for every ounce of validation, you become ordinary, even disposable. But when you demonstrate that you are whole in yourself, that your happiness does not collapse without someone else, you command respect. Independence creates presence, even in absence. Epictetus taught that our freedom lies in mastering what is within our control. Our thoughts, our choices, our actions. No one can take these from us unless we hand them over. When you live by this truth, you show that you are not tied to another's approval or affection to find meaning. You walk into a room with your own light, and when you leave, that light is what they miss. Think of a mountain. It does not lean on the trees or rivers to exist. It stands by itself, unmoved, unshaken. People look to it for strength, for steadiness. When you live like this, self-sufficient and grounded, you become someone whose absence is felt because you brought stability that is rare. Self-sufficiency is not about isolation or arrogance. It is about showing that you are not needy, not desperate, not clinging. It is about living in a way that makes your company a choice, not a necessity. And that choice is what others remember. They miss you not because you begged for their attention, but because your strength reminded them of what they lacked. In the end, nothing is more magnetic than a person who can walk alone, yet whose presence is deeply valued when shared. Words are like currency. The more you spend without thought, the less each one is worth. When you flood others with constant messages, constant calls, constant reassurances, you make yourself common. But when your communication is measured, thoughtful, and restrained, your words gain value. People wait for them, they think about them, and they feel their absence more deeply when you are silent. The Stoics understood that restraint reveals strength. A person who cannot hold back reveals weakness, like a river overflowing its banks, wasting its power in all directions. But the one who channels their words with care is like a sculptor shaping marble, every strike purposeful, every detail deliberate. This discipline makes your presence felt even when you are not there. Think of perfume. When overused, it overwhelms and becomes unpleasant. But when applied sparingly, it lingers in memory, leaving others wanting more. The same is true with your voice, your messages, your presence. Restraint creates anticipation, and anticipation creates longing. Seneca once wrote that life is long if you know how to use it well. The same applies to communication. Words are powerful if you know when not to use them. By practicing restraint, you create space for others to miss you. You teach them that your words are not given lightly, that your time is not given thoughtlessly. In this way, your silence between words becomes as powerful as the words themselves. And it is in that silence, in that waiting, that you are missed most. It is easy to talk about virtues, but far more powerful to live them. The Stoics knew that true influence does not come from noise, but from example. When your life reflects discipline, courage, and calm, people notice. And when you are no longer present, they feel the gap more sharply because your presence carried weight. Cato was remembered not for grand speeches, but for the quiet consistency of his character. He lived in such a way that his absence was more telling than the words of many others combined. This is the essence of being missed. You are not remembered for what you claimed to be, but for how you carried yourself when no one was watching. Consider the difference between a teacher who lectures endlessly and one who inspires simply by living the lesson. The first fills the air with words that soon fade. The second leaves an impression that lingers long after they are gone. In the same way, you are not missed for saying what you stand for. You are missed for standing for it. When you live by example, you lift the standard of the room. Your calm steadies others. Your discipline inspires. Your integrity reminds people of what is possible. And when you are not there, that absence is felt because the standard lowers, the calm fades, and the memory of your presence becomes a quiet ache. This is why living by Stoic principles makes you unforgettable. You do not have to demand attention. You simply embody virtue. And when you step away, those left behind realize they were standing in the company of something rare, something they now long to see again. What is always available is often overlooked. This is the law of rarity, and it applies not only to possessions, but to people. When you give yourself without pause, when you are constantly present, you fade into the background. But when you practice restraint, when you make your time and presence measured, you become something others value. The Stoics taught moderation in all things, including how we offer ourselves. If you are too quick to answer every call, too eager to show up at every request, you train others to take you for granted. But when you learn to hold back, not with coldness, but with purpose, you remind others that your presence is not guaranteed, and what is not guaranteed is always more treasured. Think of why statues endure. The ordinary men of their time were forgotten, but the figures carved in stone became rare sights, admired for centuries. They were not everywhere, not always seen, but their rarity gave them lasting weight. In relationships, the same principle holds true. You are remembered most not when you flood the room, but when you leave space for others to feel your absence. To be missed is not about disappearing entirely. It is about finding balance. You are present enough to matter, but rare enough to be valued. This is not manipulation. It is wisdom. It is living in such a way that your presence carries depth, not noise. And when you step away, people realize they are missing not just a person, but a presence that cannot easily be replaced. Independence is one of the strongest magnets a person can carry. When you show that you are able to walk alone, others begin to value your presence more. Dependence creates a weight that people try to escape, but independence draws them closer. It is not that you reject others, it is that you do not collapse without them. This balance creates respect, and respect always lingers in the memory. The Stoics taught that the highest good is to be governed by reason, not by attachment. When you are centered in yourself, when your peace does not break simply because someone is absent, you demonstrate strength that is rare. People may not say it aloud, but they notice. They remember how steady you are when others waver. And when you step back, they miss the quiet confidence you carried. Imagine a lighthouse on the shore. Ships do not cling to it, yet they are drawn to its light. It does not chase them, but its independence gives them guidance. Your independence works in the same way. You do not need to beg for presence or attention. You stand firm, and others find themselves pulled back to you. Independence is not loneliness, it is freedom. It is the power to choose relationships without being bound by them. When you live this way, others begin to realize that your presence was never a burden. It was a gift, and when the gift is no longer before them, they feel the lack deeply. To be independent is to be remembered because what you give is strength, not need. There is a way to step back that leaves bitterness, and a way to step back that leaves respect. The Stoic path is the second. Withdrawal is not about punishment or silent revenge. It is about preserving your dignity without hostility. When you pull away without anger, you create space that others cannot ignore. They may not feel pushed, but they will feel your absence as a calm reminder of what they lost. Too often, people withdraw in rage, slamming doors and leaving scars. That kind of exit may grab attention in the moment, but it leaves behind resentment instead of longing. The Stoics remind us that true strength is shown in composure. By stepping away with peace, you show that your worth is not tied to conflict. You do not need to fight to prove value. You only need to walk away with grace. Think of water receding from the shore. It does not argue. It does not force. It simply pulls back, and in doing so, its absence is noticed. The sand grows dry, and those who once stood in comfort begin to feel the difference. In relationships, the same principle holds. Your calm withdrawal leaves a gap not filled by noise or drama, but by the quiet memory of your steadiness. To withdraw without anger is to show that you are whole, even apart. And when people see that, they begin to wonder why their life feels emptier without you. They do not remember the fight. They remember the peace you carried. And that peace is what they come to miss most. Desire can be a trap. The more you chase it openly, the more it slips through your fingers. The Stoics understood this well. The person ruled by desire becomes a servant, not a master. To make others truly miss you, you must first discipline your own impulses. The urge to always reach out, always check, always seek reassurance. Restraint creates space, and space creates longing. Seneca's letters offer a powerful example. They were not written in haste or desperation. Each was measured, thoughtful, and purposeful. Because of this, his words endure even now. If he had written endlessly without discipline, scattering his thoughts everywhere, their value would have faded. His restraint gave them weight. In the same way, your presence gains weight when you resist the temptation to overexpose yourself. Consider how easily we fall into patterns of instant response, messages sent too quickly, attention given too freely. This reveals need, not strength. But when you hold back, not from pride but from discipline, others sense it. They begin to wait for your words, to look forward to your presence, to notice when it is not there. Desire unchecked pushes people away. Desire restrained makes your presence a gift. The Stoics taught that freedom lies not in chasing what you crave, but in mastering it. When you show that you are not controlled by your own impulses, you reveal a steadiness that others will come to miss deeply. In this way, your absence speaks louder than constant pursuit, and your discipline makes your presence unforgettable. What truly lingers in the mind of others is not charm or clever words, but the steadiness of character. When your presence brings calm, wisdom, or strength, you become a reference point in their lives. And when you are gone, that absence is not just noticed, it is felt. People do not miss entertainment for long, but they miss stability deeply. The Stoics taught that virtue is the highest good, and everything else follows beneath it. If you are remembered, it will not be because of how much you flattered or impressed, but because of the quiet force of your integrity. When you carry yourself with patience, when you hold to reason in moments of chaos, when you treat others with respect even when it is not returned, you leave an imprint stronger than any temporary attraction. Think of a strong pillar in an ancient temple. Visitors may admire the carvings or decorations, but what they truly rely on is the pillar's strength. When it is removed, the whole structure feels weaker. Your presence, when rooted in virtue, works in the same way. It holds others up without demanding attention. To make others miss you, focus not on being liked, but on being good. When you live with honesty, courage, and self-control, you become the kind of person whose absence leaves silence. The silence is not empty, it is heavy, because it reminds others of the rare strength they no longer have beside them. And that weight is what calls you back to their memory again and again. Mystery is not built by tricks or games, but by restraint. The Stoics practiced moderation in all things, even in what they revealed of themselves. They understood that to show everything is to lose value, for what is completely exposed is quickly forgotten. But what is partly hidden, what is revealed with care, lingers in the mind. Curiosity grows in silence, in pauses, in the parts of you that others cannot fully grasp. In relationships, this does not mean pretending or deceiving. It means living with depth, holding parts of yourself for those who earn them, and not scattering your inner world to anyone who asks. When you reveal your thoughts too quickly, when you expose every feeling without pause, you become predictable. But when you speak with intention, when you reveal pieces of your mind and heart slowly, you leave space for wonder. Epictetus reminded his students that not every truth must be spoken at once. Restraint in speech and expression was a way of keeping dignity intact. In the same way, when you show discipline in what you give of yourself, you create an aura that others cannot easily forget. Imagine a book that gives away its ending on the first page. It has no reason to be read, but a book that unfolds carefully keeps you turning each page, eager for more. Your life should be like that. Not a performance of secrets, but a measured unfolding. When you live with mystery born of restraint, people miss you not only for what you gave, but for what they know remains within you, waiting beyond their reach. There is an art to leaving, and the Stoics practiced it well. To leave gracefully is to step away before your presence grows heavy, before familiarity dulls your value. When you end interactions with calm dignity, you create space for longing. People remember the last note most clearly, and if that note is composed and measured, it lingers far longer than noise or drama. Too many stay until resentment builds, until their presence feels forced. This erodes memory, turning what could have been cherished into something suffocating. The Stoic approach is different. Know when to depart, and do so with peace. Do not argue, do not cling. Do not make your absence a punishment. Simply step back with steadiness, leaving behind the quiet impression of strength. Think of a guest at a feast who rises from the table at just the right moment. They leave satisfied, not overindulged, and the host remembers them fondly. But the one who lingers too long leaves behind discomfort. In the same way, you are missed most when you leave before you are forgotten. Marcus Aurelius reflected often on the brevity of life, reminding himself that all things pass quickly. To live with this awareness is to avoid overstaying in any moment, any place, or any relationship. When you exit with grace, you give others the gift of wanting more. And that want, that quiet longing, is what makes your absence powerful. To leave with dignity is not to end a connection, but to plant a memory that continues to grow long after you have stepped away. If these Stoic lessons gave you something to think about, make sure to subscribe so you can keep walking this path of timeless wisdom with me.